Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the very first edition of the Season 2 Survival Guide. And we're going to start out talking about something that's very important to the way you play the game, and that is picks and bans. Now, our game is getting more and more balanced as time goes on, which is actually incredibly impressive. So instead of the standard, let's say, only 5 necessary bans that were around when ranked first started, people like Heimer or Shaco, we have moved to more of a situational banning phase, which is actually pretty incredible. I started out trying to make a list of all of the characters that you have to ban, and really, if you look around, none of these characters are ever always banned in solo queue. What you'll usually see is maybe half your bans going towards junglers, high-impact junglers who influence the lanes a lot. And then maybe the other half of the bans going towards solo mids, just strong snowbally solo mids. And if your opponent is trying to game the system, you'll start seeing some more flavor bans like Soraka or some of the AD carries bottom. So we're going to talk about those pretty much in the order I mentioned them. Junglers, mids, carries, and then why Soraka's banned. So starting with the junglers, we have Shaco, Rammus, Skarner, and Lee Sin. Now, out of these, I personally will always ban Shaco and Rammus because no one really wants to play against either of those characters. They jungle incredibly quickly. They're very hard to deal with as a laner because you need wards in every location. You need to know where they're coming from at all times, and that can be very problematic for a laner. More than that, someone like Shaco is an immense pain in the ass for your jungler. If a jungler just plays their standard jungling game against someone like Shaco, they will lose their entire jungler and probably get killed. Like, that's just the way the game works. So that's personally why I banned the two of those. Skarner and Lee Sin are two characters that are often banned, but not necessarily because of how immensely powerful they are. Skarner is a character that I leave open since the nerfs because of how much he needs blue buff. But a lot of people still ban him because he has that same kind of map presence that Shaco and Rammus do, which is if you're overextended, you will die, and that's it. Lee Sin is a character that you ban just as kind of a throwaway ban to get something stronger for your team, someone more snowbally. But the reason he's banned is because he is a very strong early to mid-game character. He has one of the biggest presences for basically top and mid lane. His Q deals a ton of damage, and it's actually pretty hard to avoid a good Lee Sin gank. Usually, if you want to deal with the Lee Sin pretty well, I recommend getting your team together and invading his red, because most Lee Sins will do rates then red. If he doesn't do that, then he's not going to gank until maybe the 3.5 minute mark, at which point you want to get some wards down and play very safely. Now, mid bans, we usually see people like Ahri, Kassadin, Morgana banned, and I agree with Ahri and Kassadin. Not because they're impossible to counter, but because if they do get out of hand by some fluke, they will snowball out of control and kill your entire team. That's just the way the characters work. If the enemy team is good, they're going to feed them blue buff, and they're just going to push the lane, roam the map, and kill everyone. So you really don't want to put up with that. Morgana is not someone that I personally ban often because she is easily counterpicked, as is Kassadin. But again, you can't really rely on that. The thing about Morgana is that her mobility is less than the other two. So again, you do not have to worry about her impact on the other lanes as much as them. Morgana is a personal throwaway ban for me when we want to do something, pick up something stronger. Other common solo queue bans you're going to see are Kennen, LeBlanc, and Vlad. And the reason for those three are just because of how out of hand they get pretty quickly. LeBlanc is a hard counter to most solo mids. personally, I don't think there's almost anything in the game that can really stand up to her toe-to-toe. You have to do something sneaky, like pick up, I don't know, double null magic, lots of health, and just try and outlast her. Once you get past the laning phase, she starts to fall off. So that's really what you want to do. And most solo queue players don't actually know how to take advantage of a LeBlanc on their team. So, she's not necessarily worth the ban, but if you know they have a good LeBlanc player because you're like stuck in an ELO, right? You're always playing against the same people, then yeah, definitely worth maybe a throwaway ban if you want to pick up something stronger. Kennen's banned often because he is just strong all game long, all the time. Top or mid, both lanes, he has a very good lane presence, and in team fights, his ultimate is one of the best in the games. So you really have to be worried about a character like Kennen. If he gets a good laning phase, he will steamroll the entire game. And he's actually pretty hard to gank. If a jungler tries to gank him, he's going to E away. Usually Kennens hold on to the stun on their W. So they're going to, the charge on their W. So they're going to auto attack you, Q you, and then W, and then you're stunned and he gets away scot-free. I personally don't usually ban him because I play a lot of Swain, and I think Swain is a great counter to Kennen. Anytime he gets in range of you, you just trade with him, and you come out on top usually. Let's see. Another good AP ban would be Vlad. I know there's a lot of people who feel really strongly about Vlad, and I admit that I have a massive personal bias against someone like Vlad. I feel like the character is just wrong. I know how silly that sounds. I just don't like Vlad. But there are a lot of Vlad players, and even before the buffs that he got in this patch, I was banning him because I just can't stand the character. If they get to last pick, and if they have last pick and you haven't picked a strong counter to Vlad, someone like Swain or LeBlanc, then he's just going to passively farm. He's going to snowball out of control. And then when it comes to team fights, you get stuck with that. Do I focus the 3k HP AP carry, or do I let him roam around and do whatever he wants? And both of those are bad situations for you. So again, Vlad is worth a ban, but I wouldn't say he's worth more of a ban than someone like Ahri, Kassadin, Shaco, Rammus, or Skarner. Another two good bans for AD carries are Sivir and Graves. Graves has probably the strongest lane phase out of all of the AD carries. Ezreal actually has something comparable to Graves, but usually you use Graves as kind of a throwaway ban to get something stronger. He still has an amazing lane presence. His smokescreen is still one of the best skills in the game. And he's got immense burst. So there's, you can throw away a ban on Graves to get something stronger for your team and not feel bad about it because he does have a good presence in the game. Sivir is another common ban because she is considered one of the strongest AD carries right now. I would actually rate her as the best AD carry, but that's the personal opinion of someone who does not play bottom lane. So that's not the gospel. Sivir has a pretty good laning phase. She's decently hard to gank, and she scales incredibly well. I mean, that's really all there is to it. You can ban her or you can pick her, but you should definitely have someone who plays Sivir. And as far as supports go, the only support you're really going to see banned is Soraka because of some really out there abuse case of, her W, her R, summoner heal, and summoner heal on the support carry, making it impossible to gank. And because playing Soraka is so boring that you can actually just watch The Office on your second monitor like I do when you play her, and you'll actually miss nothing. So that's pretty much it for picks and bans. A couple things that I want you guys to note is that you usually only want to do throwaway bans when you are looking at getting first pick. Usually when you're second pick, you do one of two things if you see them doing throwaway bans. You want to either ban everything standard and get all of the incredibly abusive crap out of the way like Shaco and Rammus, or you ban nothing and the game is just a massive, incredible disaster of a bunch of unbanned stuff. So that's pretty much it for picks and bans. Once again, this is Farrah with League Top 10, and I hope to see you soon.